which would explain the trail of shell companies and the total lack of cameras.
Plus, CIA involvement?
I was devastated when I heard that NCIS LA was getting the axe. There are still a few moments left though, and so much could happen, from Hetty's return to Callan and Nana's wedding celebration. Here are all the predictions fans made about the show's ending after the cancellation was announced, starting with Hetty's return. Because when I first saw a Hetty Lang cameo in the crossover episode, I wanted nothing more than to see this character get a proper retirement party. And it looks like I'm not the only one, because Hetty returning is the #1 wish of NCIS LA fans.
Is that really you?
Oh.
Where have you been?
A story for another day, my dear.
In the episode, the agents recovered some of their kidnapped colleagues. So, what did our favorite operations manager do? Give some good old advice, of course. Callan and Hannah both got some coded text messages. When decoded, they could listen to an audio message from Hetty that gave them a hint about where Hollis Kilbride was. Even though Hetty didn't show up in person, her hint led the agents to a Hollywood casting agent. That's who gave them a person who looked exactly like Kilbride so they could lure some of the bad guys out. One fan was pretty vocal about wanting her and Callan to get back together. And come on, even if they don't get back together, they should at least wrap that up before his wedding. Linda Hunt's had a pretty limited role on the show for some time now, which is probably why fans want to see her again. Let's get Linda Hunt, who won an Academy Award and a Teen Choice Award for action, back on our screens, whether it's in person or a final video check-in.
Along with the radar tag.
Well, we find one, we may find the other. Why don't you dig up whatever you can on Tyler, talk to his coworkers again, maybe somebody knows something.
None of this has changed since the last time you asked.
My mistake. And you are here on vacation?
But fans want to know more about whether Kinsey will get the miracle she's wanted so badly. Kenzie getting pregnant could be a huge plus. The fact that Kenzie and Deeks couldn't have a child was a big plot point for about a season. That's why they adopted Rosa when she was a teenager, even though it wasn't all planned out. Still, many fans are hoping for a small miracle now that the series is almost over. One fan is convinced that Kenzie must be pregnant. Not just that though, they're sure she's pregnant with twins. But even that doesn't top this next character making an appearance. Just like with Hetty, fans want to see Nate Diaz make one last appearance. Nate, an operational psychologist, was in the original backdoor pilot for NCIS LA. That's when Peter Camber was a regular on the show during season 1. Since then, he had shown up here and there. But most recently, after a long break, at the end of last season, Kilbride asked Nate to help Callan look into his complicated childhood again. That's when we knew that this called for a return of a fan favorite character.
What do we got?
A call came in from O&I this morning after security at an industrial office park in Hawthorne found the body of this woman.
Which means the killer came through that door someplace in that half-hour window.
Except CSU says surveillance cameras saw the marine testers outside of the parking lot.
Many people have said that they want Callan to finally come to terms with his past and possible programming. Nate's return would seem to be a natural part of that. Not every character's return would be welcome though. Some characters are just better off gone permanently. Kessler could return and maybe die to wrap things up. That's something fans are predicting already.
I hear there's a princess stuck in the castle somewhere around here. It's about yay tall, chestnut eyes. Cutest smile you ever seen? Kind of like that one.
Early in season 12, NCIS LA co-executive producer Frank Military wrote the episode Raising the Dead. He also appeared in it as the sociopath David Kessler, who has been obsessed with Kenzie since she put him in jail years ago. Even though Kessler did bad things and teased Kenzie, he was set free by the presidential executive order and has been on the run ever since. It isn't just fans who are predicting his return though. The actress who played Kenzie even said she wants the character to return. That might sound like it makes no sense, but there's a solid reason behind it. She thinks the storyline was left halfway and should be wrapped up. And I've got to agree, there's nothing worse than a loose end. Plus, she really wants to work with Frank Military in front of the camera again, because he wrote the episode, made the character, and did a great job at playing the part.
I got him.
Keep your distance. He's gonna be on high alert now.
Copy that.
He's still in bad shape, not out of the coma yet, and there haven't been any further sightings of Zasha Gagarin since she poisoned him.
And that's not all I'm dying to see on the screen again though. One promised episode should definitely be shown before the show ends. We could finally get the late Deeks M episode. Just like how season 1 had Callan G, and season 3 had Lang H, and Bly K, it would make perfect sense to get a dedicated episode for this special character. That's right, I'm talking about an episode based on Marty Deeks' own past. That kind of episode's been hard to find, even though everyone's asked showrunner after showrunner about a schedule.
Credentials seem legit. I mean, if this is backstopping, this is next level, likely state-sponsored.
Well, turned out to state-run, so that's not out of the question.
And I'm sure that your body is just adjusting to the hormones, and I'm sure that it's fine. And I'm sure that you're fine. Hey.
Before the beginning of this season, though, there was finally an update. R. Scott Gemmell said that he'd like to see an episode on Deeks written by Eric Christian Olsen. This would be huge, because Olsen plays the character himself. Until the end of January, though, there were no concrete plans for it, so I can't be too excited about it.
I'm always glad it's you.
God, that timing can only be ops, because...
And I didn't pull you out of anything. You're still taking your classes remotely while you're here. You are doing that, right?
Of course.
Anyway, romance is in the air, which is why this pairing should finally come true. Roundtree and Fatima coming together is just the perfect office romance. Many people didn't see his possible office romance coming until the three-way crossover with NCIS and NCIS Hawaii. That's when something terrible happened. Fatima feared the worst and was ready to hit heads when the bad guys took Roundtree. At the end of the episode, there was a scene where the young agents got together again, so seeing them officially get together would be huge. Speaking of romance, here's another character that I think should get it. Sam deserves to find love and finally move on. He's been in pain since his wife Michelle was taken and killed at the end of season 8. Since then, the mountain of a man's been focusing on his job and ensuring his kids, Cameron and Aiden, are on the right track. That's not all that killed his chances at romance, though. The real-life COVID pandemic and how lockdowns changed schedules also impacted it. It kept guest stars away and ruined his best chance at a new romance with Catherine Casillas. Casillas was on Falling Skies and is now on Moon Bloodgood. Are 11 episodes long enough for Sam to meet someone new or get back together with someone he already knows?
He serves 2 years in jail, gives the city a bunch of land and money. Everybody forgets.
Could have been cut at the hem, you know, turned into shorts or something. Even knee holes would leave threads.
But do we know who sells them?
Remember how I talked about characters making a return earlier? Here are 2 more that fans predict will make a comeback. That's mainly because they want Neil and Eric to return to the screen. And to be honest, it's hard to imagine that the co-workers turned lovers wouldn't return together. Barrett Foa was in the show from the beginning, and Renee Felice Smith joined in season 2. They stayed until the end of season 12, where interim operations manager Neil got to say goodbye to a briefly returned Hetty in person. If we're going to a wedding, which I'll talk about briefly, it would be strange if this couple didn't RSVP. Of course, even apart from the romance, the show should make sure no good guys die. Let's just keep all the OSP going until the end, shall we?
Great. The seal and the hyphenate. I should have known your team would be involved in this mess.
But you know what would be wild? If this romantic pairing actually made it down the aisle. Callan and Alan could finally have their wedding. It's been a while since he asked her to marry him at the end of last season's finale in front of a beautiful sunset. Since then, the upcoming marriage has been talked about a little bit. This is because Callan feels he can't take this step until Hetty returns. And he knows for sure who he is and isn't. But the smart money says that Callan and Anna will say I do before NCIS LA ends. Even if the wedding has a wild theme.
Let's run it again.
You heard her. Let's go. You make that up?
I did just now, but it's great though, right? I should put it on t-shirts for the team, put you down for a extra medium.
That's all on NCIS fans' predictions about the show's ending after the cancellation announcement. See you next time.